Now part of the Darkcast Network. Welcome to Indie Podcasts with a dark side. A man murders his entire family, goes to prison, somehow gets out, and does it all over again? How could this happen? Who's to blame here? Let's get into the unbelievable case of Gregory Green right now on Love and Murder. Welcome, lambs. Welcome to a new episode of Love and Murder, your weekly true crime podcast telling you of heartbreak that turned to homicide. I am your host, Kai, and in today's episode, we're discussing a case of Gregory Green, a man known for murdering his entire family twice. This case was brought to light from Lamb Henna Page. Thank you, Henna. Before we begin, I want to say that this episode and all my episodes, as y'all know, are sponsored by my lambs and Patreon. Patreon.com/Love and Murder. Be sure to subscribe to Love and Murder right now while you're listening so you don't miss a case. And if you didn't know, you can subscribe on our Patreon so that you don't have to hear intros like this or commercials. You'll get Kai Rants, bonuses, and you'll be a sponsor of Love and Murder. In one of my last recent bonuses, I told the lambs a story about my first horseback riding adventure. So if you want to hear that, head on over to patreon.com/Love and Murder. In the meantime, though, grab your butts, grab your BJ's apple juice, murderandlove.com/BJ's, and let's get into some Love and Murder. Gregory Vincent Green was born on December 10th, 1966, and was raised in a really religious family. That's literally all we know about his early life. So we're going to fast forward to the 1990s. By this time, Greg had met a woman named Tanya Clayton, and the two quickly formed a relationship that led right into marriage. The couple married in July of 1989 and soon began to build a family together. Tanya Clayton Green had two young children, ages 5 and 8, from a previous relationship by the time she had married Gregory. The family of 4 moved into a home of their own in Detroit, Michigan. The couple seemed on the right path to growing a family as Tanya soon became pregnant with Gregory's child. However, their marriage was troubled, with Gregory's increasingly controlling and violent behavior. Friends of Tanya reported a significant and concerning change in Gregory's demeanor, which made Tanya scared enough to consider leaving him. This information she had confided to a friend. On July 14th, 1991, Gregory, in a fit of rage, attacked Tanya in their home. He used a steak knife to stab her 10 times in various parts of her body, including her neck, her cheek, her chest, and her back, which resulted in Tanya's death. Tanya was 6 months pregnant at that time. Both she and their unborn child died. Oh my God, do you remember the last full episode I did, which was the case of Leila Duarte da Luz? And she was pregnant when she was murdered. So I put the link in the show notes below so you can go back and listen to that one if you hadn't heard that one before. And my question is, what is wrong with people? Oh my God. Her other 2 children were home at the time, but Gregory didn't hurt them. After the murder, Gregory made a very calm 911 call to report what he'd done. When police arrived, he greeted them warmly. "Would you like a shoe cozy? Cookies and milk? A glass of apple juice? When you're done, I could show you the body in the kitchen." I mean, he didn't actually say all of that, but just so you understand how crazy he sounds. What he actually said was, "I stabbed her." When they got to the kitchen, he pointed at Tanya and took officers to the fridge where he'd put the murder weapon. Gregory was arrested and was charged with second-degree murder. He pled no contest and was sentenced to 15 to 25 years in prison. For the murder of 2 people? That's all he got? Prison records indicate that in that time he was in prison, he showed no signs of remorse or empathy for the murders. Instead, he started blaming Tanya for what he did. He ended up being denied parole 4 times. Can you believe the gall of this guy? He's blaming her and then tries to get out on parole. During his time in prison, he reportedly completed cognitive programming and had a minor infraction for fighting over the use of a television with another inmate. However, other than that, Gregory kept up a spotless prison record and kept away from violence and kept a low profile throughout his time behind bars. By the end of 2004, Gregory was still openly blaming Tanya for her death. Can you imagine this? And he showed no significant progress in gaining insight into his violent behavior. By this time, though, friends, family, and even correction officers wrote letters to the parole board advocating for his release, insisting that he had changed and become very religious. Do y'all not hear that he's still blaming Tanya? Are you serious? In November 2006, his parents said, quote, "We believe Gregory is very sorry for what he did and has gained insight into his behaviors. He has worked hard in prison, and he continues to make a positive adjustment." Yeah, this is why he is the way he is. His parents let him get away with shit. The whole boys will be boys bullshit. Ma'am, your son bashed my son over the head because he wouldn't let him choke his puppy. Oh, boys will be boys. My son is a rambunctious boy. Your son should have let him hold a puppy. Have you ever been around that kind of parent? I know some of y'all have. If you have stories, let me hear them. But anyways, a lot of times, this is what the child turns into. I'm like, Miss Murderer's mama, did you not hear me say that he's blaming Tanya for her murder? His mother, Tommy Lee Green, said, quote, "I don't believe Gregory is a threat to society. I don't believe a long sentence will make him any better because he has suffered already and he will continue to suffer the rest of his life." Where's the suffering? He's still blaming someone else. What's going on here? I'm pretty sure Tanya's family is suffering and they're going to suffer for the rest of their life. What are you talking about? Fred Harris, a pastor of Gregory's before the murders, wrote multiple letters to the Michigan Parole Board on his behalf, begging them to give him a second chance and promising that the church will help in his rehabilitation. Quote, "Gregory and I were friends before his mishap, and he was incarcerated." Wait. Mishap? Did he call cold-blooded murder of a woman and an unborn child a mishap? Am I going crazy here? Okay. Fred continues, quote, "He was a member of our church. I feel he has paid for his unfortunate lack of self-control and the damage he has caused as much as possible and is sorry." Unfortunate lack of self-control? What in all the is wrong with this man? I could understand seeing good in people, but this is kind of ridiculous. Despite completing several educational and psychological programs, Gregory struggled to demonstrate genuine insight and remorse for his actions. Parole Board reports from 2004 and 2006 highlighted his ongoing issue with empathy and understanding the gravity of his crimes. However, by late 2006, there was a slight shift in Gregory's perspective, and he started to acknowledge that his past immaturity and started to acknowledge his role in the actions that, murder. So because of this slight shift, in 2008, the parole board made a turn decision and granted his release. Lambs. They cited, quote, "reasonable assurance that Gregory would not pose a menace to society or public safety as a key factor in their decisions." Oh my God, stupid. His parole was granted despite previous denials because, remember, he lacked empathy and what? Remorse. He had only served the 16 years before he was released in 2008. Let's take a brief pause for a commercial break. And if you don't like the commercial breaks, you could also join on patreon.com/Love and Murder. They have no commercials over there. Hey Lambs, I want to share something game-changing with you because I believe in it and use it myself. SimpliSafe Security System. With SimpliSafe, you get 24/7 whole home protection. Every window, room, and door is covered against intruders, fires, water damage, and even medical emergencies. And the best part is, It's all monitored by professionals ready to dispatch police at a moment's notice. Now, you know I don't recommend brands that I don't use myself. Simply Safe is the real deal. Use my link, murderandlove.com/simplysafe50. That's simply with a I, safe 50, and you'll get 50% off a new system plus a free camera. Professional monitoring for under $1 a day with your first month free. No contracts, no cancellation fees, easy to install yourself or choose the optional Pro install. Plus a 60-day money-back guarantee with free return shipping. No problems. murderandlove.com/simply with an I, safe 50. When you visit the site, they'll help you find a perfect security system tailored for you. And you can even buy now, pay later with Affirm. Protect what matters most with Simply Safe. Go to murderandlove.com/simply with an I, safe 50 and get started today. Also, for ease of access, link is in the show notes below. Simply Safe. Advanced security, complete peace of mind. And before we get back to the show, I want to remind you of saving money with BJ's. As you well know, I use BJ's myself, and I want to bring these savings to you. Whenever I go grocery shopping at any other store and they give me that total for bread and eggs, $100, I'm like, are you kidding me right now? When I signed up to BJ's now 3 years ago, I was just doing it just as a test to see if it was worth it. And it was, because I'm still with them 3 years later. And I want to pass these savings on to you. murderandlove.com/BJ's to get $35 off your first year's membership. Not only do you get that $35 off, but you get into a club that saves you money on groceries. And in addition to those savings, you get amazing coupons every month to help you save even more. So join me in saving money and join BJ's today. murderandlove.com/BJ's to get $35 off your first year's membership. Links are in the show notes below. Join today, save tomorrow. And now, back to the show. On December 18th, 2010, 2 years after his parole, Gregory, reminder he's a paroled murderer, had moved to Ohio and married Faith Harris. Guess who she was? She was the daughter of Pastor Fred Harris. Remember Pastor Fred? He was the one who said it was an unfortunate lack of self-control and called murder a mishap. Yeah, well, he married his daughter off to paroled murderer Gregory. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Faith had met Gregory at her father's church when she was only 14 years old, and Gregory was 24. Not that they'd tried anything or he even looked at her when she was 14, but I'm just giving y'all information on when she knew him. Now, as a 14-year-old, she did have a crush on Gregory, so when he came back into her life, she still had that same schoolgirl crush on him. Even though she knew he'd been to prison and the reason why, this didn't deter her. Pause here. Women, I'm talking to you. We need to do better. Stop thinking we can change people. People only change themselves. You're not going to be that catalyst to change. Stop it. Now, just like Tanya, Faith had 2 children from a previous marriage, Chandy Allen Jr. and Kara Allen. Seems like Gregory has a type. During their 6-year marriage, they had settled in the Detroit suburb of Dearborn Heights, and Gregory and Faith welcomed 2 more daughters, Coy and Kylie. Although life started out good, by 2013, Gregory was up to his old antics and had started the same abuse as Faith as he had on Tanya. She described life with Gregory as being, quote, married but single. Shoot, I know how that feels from my previous marriage. Highlighting his financial support, but emotional absence and disinterest, particularly towards her older children. Quote, with Gregory, some days it was good, some days it was bad. He was often quiet and moody, and he never hit me. It was always verbal and mental torment. Just like Tanya, Faith had reportedly tried to leave him multiple times and even filed for divorce that year. Faith even tried to get a personal protection order against Gregory, which is a PPO, against Gregory in 2013. She reported his abusive behavior, including threats and physical intimidation, such as kicking the couch while their baby was sleeping on it. She also said that one time Gregory told her, quote, things are going to get ugly if she doesn't leave the house. Actually, here's the exact clip of what she wrote. Quote, he's trying to make me leave our home. We're filing for divorce. He's being belligerent, kicking things. He kicked the couch while the baby was sleeping on it. Just kicking things, threatening me, and saying that if I don't leave, things are going to get ugly. Jumped at me like he was going to attack. This went on for hours. Despite reporting these incidents, her request for a PPO was denied by then Judge Deborah Ross Adams due to, quote, insufficient allegations. So now she's in her house, just vulnerable once again. And my question is, that wasn't enough? What allegations did they need about a convicted murderer? And, side note, where's her father throughout all of this? Still seeing the good in Gregory? So, with no other choice and obviously no support from her family, or at least her father, Faith remained with her husband for another 3 years. But by August 2016, she once again filed for divorce. However, in the early hours of September 21st, 2016, Gregory forcibly woke Faith up and dragged her into the living room. She was confronted by the sight of her two eldest children, 19-year-old Chadney and 17-year-old Kara, both bound with zip ties. Gregory then took them all to the basement where he tied Faith to a chair using duct tape and zip ties. He then shot her in the foot and sliced her face with a box cutter. Then you thought that was bad. Then on top of all of that, he made her watch as he shot and killed his stepchildren. Where were the other two children? His biological children? They were upstairs because Gregory had already murdered them, 4-year-old Kylie and 5-year-old Coy, using carbon monoxide poisoning. He left the children in a car with the engine running and then later moved their lifeless bodies to their beds. Oh my God. Just like 25 years before, Gregory calmly called a 911 to confess to the murders and awaited the arrival of the police. He did the same thing he did before and showed them his work when they arrived. He was arrested and again charged with second-degree murder. Why is this not first-degree murder? Can anybody tell me that? Let me know in the comments below. Why is this not first-degree murder? Anyway, in 2017, Judge Dana Hathaway sentenced him. Now, during the sentencing, Faith delivered a heart-wrenching testimony of Gregory expressing profound loss and enduring trauma from the events of September 21st. She told the court of the horrific morning when her 4 children were brutally murdered by their father, describing the overwhelming fear and trauma that still lingers with her to this day. Quote, "The one thing that I didn't realize at the time that I found out after is that when you're preparing to leave, that's the most dangerous time, which I didn't even know. In my mind, I'm just preparing so I can save money and get my kids out of there and get our own place. But I didn't know his mindset." Faith currently struggles with post-traumatic stress disorder, migraines, and nightmares. Quote, "Sometimes I dream of the night all this happened and wake up screaming and sweating, thinking that I can save my children somehow. Then I realize that the nightmare is actually reality and that my children are really gone. I try to find the strength to start my day somehow. There's no punishment that fits the crime. Your justice will come when you burn in hell for all eternity." This is what she said. To which he had the cajones, the brass balls, the low-hanging fruit of a ton of balls he had to respond. Quote, this is what Gregory Green said. Quote, "First of all, only God knows. Only he can judge. You know, I do regret and I'm sorry for what happened. However, all I ever wanted was a God-fearing," and at that point, they couldn't figure out what he said. I'm guessing he said woman or person or something, but it says inaudible. And he continues, quote, "Was a God-fearing woman," I'm putting in the word woman there, "to help me, that would support me and be faithful no matter what," end quote. This is what Gregory Green had the cajones to say. And Lambs, oh my God, do you see that he is blaming her? Now look. Me personally, at this point, I'm leaping over the divider, shot foot and all. I'm leaping over the divider. You gonna blame me for this? Are you serious? And with Faith, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine what she's going through. I'm not even letting it settle in my head because I already feel the tears wanting to come. So I'm not letting it settle in my brain. But I just can't even imagine. But seriously, no lie. Once he blamed me in court and had a rebuttal for what I just said to you, I'm losing all sense and I'm jumping over something they're going to catch me mid jump. They're either going to catch me or I'm going to do a running back move. I think that's the person in football where I'm going to dodge everybody until I get to him. During the sentencing, Judge Dana Hathaway described Gregory's actions as, quote, inconceivable, emphasizing that fathers are meant to protect their children and husbands are meant to protect their wives. So he was sentenced to 45 to 100 years in prison for multiple counts of second-degree murder, plus 6 to 10 years for additional charges of torture and assault with intent to do bodily harm. He would not be eligible for parole until the age of 97. Okay, why not the death sentence? Why does he get to live in prison, eating, sleeping, working out, blaming her? I don't understand. Gregory had pled guilty to these charges as part of a sentencing agreement that avoided a trial. This was so that the family wouldn't have to relive the details of the murders. Okay, I cannot judge Faith for that. She didn't want to relive this. She didn't want to go through the whole ordeal again. I completely understand that. I mean, I guess technically he's never getting out. He can't even get paroled till he's 97. I don't like it, but I guess. The extended family and community expressed devastation, with Faith detailing how her parents and other relatives were profoundly affected, struggling with their own health and emotional well-being. I mean, I hear that, but also screw them. You advocated for a murderer to get out. And this, I'm basically just talking about her father, because I don't know what the others were doing. I'm literally just talking straight to her father. You advocated for a murderer to get out. You let him marry your daughter. Then you sat idly by and watched him abuse her for 8 years? Now you're struggling with your emotional well-being? Well, sit there and struggle then. If you'd done something beforehand, you could have saved everyone involved. Now, I know some people are going to tune out after my outburst, but I'm not sorry. This needed to be said. I hate when people sit by and let shit happen, and then after it's all said and done, we're supposed to feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for Faith, and I feel sorry for everybody behind the scenes that had no option but to watch this happen, or they didn't even know what was going on behind the scenes until it happens. Because some people put on a brave front and you just see a happy marriage, so they didn't even know. Those are the people I feel sorry for. But the ones who knew, namely her father, I feel no sorrow for. I especially feel sorry for Faith. She had to endure this alone. She struggled to get away this entire time. And where was everyone to help her correctly file the PPO, or give her a place to stay, or force her to stay away when she moved to your place temporarily, like move her out of state far away, making it difficult for her to get back? Something. You know what I'm saying? No, don't tell me now that you're struggling with your mental health. Oh, screw that. And if you want to stop listening to me because of that, I understand. But I'm not going to let these people get away with that. I'm going to let you know that I say screw that. And speaking of the PPO, so remember the judge who turned down Faith's PPO? Well, she was ousted from office in June 2013 due to judicial misconduct surrounding Faith's divorce case. However, to play advocate here, a local lawyer named Arnold Reed, a local lawyer to Michigan's named Arnold Reed, said that it should be noted that Faith's protection order request made no mention of Gregory having served time in jail for the murder of his first wife. According to attorney Reed, the person requesting a PPO must present evidence against the person they are trying to protect themselves against. Judges do not mandate that the subject of a PPO must be the subject of an investigation. He also said that judge's choice might have changed if she had been aware of Gregory's prior criminal history. So, I mean, I guess, but at the same time, they disbarred her, or whatever you call it when you get rid of a judge. So if this was the reasoning why she denied the PPO, then why did y'all disbar her? Now, a side note, let's talk about abuse a little bit. Abusive relationships often begin very subtly, gradually escalating into more forms of abuse, more outward forms of abuse. So it usually is kind of difficult for the person involved in it to actually recognize it. Victims may experience a range of abusive behaviors, including being insulted, controlled, or physically harmed by their partners. And remember, abuse is not only man on woman. Anybody could be abusive. So don't ever think that it's just a man can only be abusive to a woman. But if a guy comes in and says, yeah, I got this black eye because my wife punched me in the eye, that y'all could just be like, well, you could have taken her. Abusers may use tactics such as monitoring phone calls, limiting your financial access, or using intimidation and threats to get control over you. So your first thing is recognizing these patterns to understand that you're in an abusive relationship, to then go ahead and seek help or at least talk to somebody. And this is the first step in getting away from an abusive relationship. Making a detailed escape plan is vital for safely leaving an abusive relationship. And this plan can include identifying safe times and methods for leaving, such as when your abuser is not home, and preparing a bag with essential items. Or you could just leave, meaning don't even pack the bag if you don't absolutely have to. But I'm not the one to give you advice in that. Instead, if you are experiencing domestic violence, call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 or go to thehotline.org. All calls are toll-free and confidential, and the hotline is available 24/7 in more than 170 languages. Once again, I am not the one to give you advice on how to leave an abusive relationship because I am not a professional in that area. Instead, call this hotline, 1-800-799-7233, or go to thehotline.org. And that is the case of Gregory Green, a man who was allowed to murder his family not once, but twice. What do you think of this case, Lamb? Share your thoughts with me in the comments below. You heard all my thoughts while I was going through this, and I probably lost listeners after that, but it is what it is. If you have any details that I may have missed, like maybe you can tell me where her father was throughout all of this, please add them in the comments below. And speaking of comments, in last week's episode where we talked about the case of Leila Duarte da Luz, which I have the link in the show notes below, I did ask a poll question of, and I guess this kind of goes right back into this episode, do you think that people who murder pregnant women should receive harsher punishments than those who do not? So for that question, 100% of y'all said yes. And to me, it's you murdered two people. So yeah, I mean, murder is bad all around, but you murdered a pregnant woman. Especially, should it be even worse if it's someone who murdered their own child? Should it even be worse than that? If it was somebody who murdered their own child, like this Gregory Green. Let me know your thoughts and comments in the show notes below. And that is all I have for you for this full episode of the week. This was a heavy one, and I am about to go and de-stress my brain because I can't. I can't. And just to, keep my mental health afloat, I gotta go detox my brain now. So that's all I have for you. Make sure you share this episode. It is a free and easy way to help Love and Murder. Just go ahead and hit the share icon on whatever platform you are. Share with your mom, share with your dad, share with your brother, share with your sister, share with your friend, share with your boyfriend, share on your social media like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Share, 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 share. Share with everyone you know and everyone you don't. And as I end each full episode every week, I want to remind you that it's, say it with me now, all love and no murder. See you in the next episode. Bye.